Smash that like button. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Blendz here, back with another one for you guys. Today we have my buddy from way back, Jimmy Rodriguez. Came to get in and get himself a mid skin fade, and he had a little tail in the back that he was growing that he wanted to resemble. I believe the artist name is Pio. Is where he got the idea from. So keep in mind, we did not miss something in the back of his hair. There wasn't a spot that I just didn't take out. He wanted to do a little tail, a little nostalgic kind of thing going on. So I said, hey, do what you want to do here. So as he's happy with this cut, that's all that really matters. Well, and that he gets a good photo op at the end too, for my sake. But all in all, I was really happy with this cut, so thought I'd show you guys kind of how it went down. Again, my haircuts right at the moment are not tutorials. Do not try this at home. This is strictly me doing it how I do it, trying to learn this game and get faster at it every day. So as you can see, we did a little consultation at first, and then I went. He said he was getting a 4 on the top usually, so we we started trimming him up with the custom FX Babyliss clipper with the 4 open, and I think next time we might even try to probably try to do probably even like a 6, because I think that little bit of length will look even better. The way his hair is coming out, it feels like the longer his hair, the thicker it looks. Even though he's not like balding, there's just a lot of like, you can see a lot of like just scalp in between the hairs. Again, he's not like balding, it's just that the way his hair grows and the way the color is and his scalp, I think that with a little more length on top, it'll look really nice. But this turned out pretty good. I was pretty happy with this. So like I said, we started with the 4 open, and I just went around the whole head, kind of the top of the head. I'm trying to cut time out of doing a lot of bottom hair around the neck area, around the nape area, basically everything in the sideburns. Like, I'm trying to not really go over that much, because I'm going to knock that out with the Babyliss FX trimmer. So I'm just knocking that out on the top there. I lowered him a little bit down in the seat so I can see the top of the head and see like all those little hairs as I go back and forth over and over, because you just got to keep going over it when you got the buzzers, because man, they will you'll just leave little tiny hairs that are stragglers. So we're going over that right now, and as we go through this, I'm just making sure I go every which way. When I got to the front of his head, he had like, his hair grows kind of like down onto his forehead, and so I was trying to hit that every which way I could to try and see if that number would get it, because it looked longer. So he does have a pretty big scar on the front of his head, and that's kind of what we were consulting about at first. So I was just hitting that over and over again, trying to see how the hair's growing out of it. I'd comb the heck out of it too, so I kind of had a good idea of how I wanted to approach it. But once I got into it, it was like that the trimmer was just not taking that. And then I didn't want to go too short, like even shorter in the front. So, it was kind of a touchy situation there. But all in all, I mean, it ended up being just fine. I did have to go a little bit shorter in the front with the clippers. So basically, I think I took an open 3 and just hit that front and just knocked out that little bit of hair that was up there before, because I was going to line it up anyways, so it didn't really matter if there was too much, because I was going to hit it. Once I hit it with the clippers, faded it up, it was alright. So we're just going through, we're knocking that stuff out to park, and as you can see, Jimmy was he's a good sport about everything. He was a little nervous, I think, at first, because he had never got his cut from me before, but he had been kind of hitting me up here and there, and his coworker actually was like, why don't we go down the street to my boy that I know? And he was like, why don't you go over there, and then I'm going to call my boy and see what's up. And so kind of a comparative thing. But he saw his homeboy's hair when he came back, and he's like, damn, he's like, I'm glad I came here. So, that always feels good, and I'm happy that he was happy with the cut. And it might took a little bit longer than I wanted, as usual, but we were chopping it up for quite a bit of time in the beginning, so it's been a kind of a weird, stressful week for me. So it was nice to just kind of like chop it up with somebody from back in the day. So I was pretty happy with that. So basically, once we hit that with the 4 open on top, then I kind of went down to a 3 closed, and almost I could have even went to a 2, because basically, I mean, I had, by the end of the cut, it was 2 1.5. Really no need for the 3, but just to make it so, I wanted to start with the 3, so just in case. And then once I had the 3 kind of on the top, and I had the 4 open, so I had my top done basically, then I my new system that I'm going to keep trying to do is I'm hitting it with the, balding it out. So once I do the top, then I bald it out, I get my bald line for my fade, and I keep balding. And then with the FX, the Babyliss trimmer, I knocked that stuff out. It was just taking that hair off, and then already you could start to see where my haircut was forming. So shout out to Mr.Blendz. I've been watching a gang of his tutorials, and he's got this thing that if you got that tool in your hand, use it as much as you can. I still have not perfected it at all, but basically I'm taking that trimmer, and what I'm trying to do once I get down to that balding area is I'm kind of like trying to set up, making sure that like the neck's done, and then kind of lining it up a little, just a free form of lining it up real quick. So nothing final, but it kind of gives me an idea of where I'm going to go with this. So I'll be hitting that up with the trimmer here shortly, and just going around like his C cup, going around his line, just kind of trying to see how all the hair is kind of growing, where I'm hitting it at. But I mean, I thoroughly went over the top with the 4 to make sure that I got all those little hairs, because I mean, that is really, when they're looking at a haircut, they're looking in the mirror and they're seeing the front of their face, like most people say, and that's what they see a lot of the time, is that all that it's that front view. So you see the side a lot, you see the back a lot. I personally am still trying to get in the groove of like looking directly into their face, because I feel like I'm just not, I don't know, people stare at you and you're trying to look at their hair, they're looking at you in the eyes. Some people like have this like weird like energy, like it feels like they think that I messed something up, and now I'm trying to like look at it, but realistically, I'm just looking at your like the sides and the front view because, you know, I try to keep my clients away, facing away from the mirror, so that way, you know, they don't get worried during the haircut, because it always looks weird when you're in the middle of a haircut. And that way, when you turn back around, the last kind of thing they saw was their long hair, and now they're gonna see basically the short hair and the end result. So that's just what I've been doing. I mean, I started out putting them facing the mirror, and then I noticed, you know, people see half a haircut and they're like, or it's not the way someone else did it. You know, some people fade down, some people fade up, some people do in the middle, some do that, you know, half a tack, so it all really depends. But, you know, just so they don't get worried and so they're not tripping or trying to tell me how someone else does it. It's probably the worst thing. Like, unless you ask, they don't want, you know, it's for a barber, we don't really want to hear how someone else cut your hair. But if someone did something bad or something they like, we'll hear it. But just the way we go about it, everybody does it differently. So just a little tidbit of advice there for the customers. So here we are, we're going into the balding section of the cut. I'm using my FX trimmer here, and skeleton trimmer by Fabulous, and so I'm just going around and I'm creating basically my bald line. In the back here is where his tail was at, so I didn't really know what he wanted to do with the tail at first. I mean, I know that right now, like, mullets are in, so some people are wanting kind of a tail, like a mullet style, and I had never really seen the artist that he was talking about, which was, I believe the name is Pio, but I could be wrong on that, don't quote me. And so he showed me like a music video of the guy, but in the video there wasn't too many like solid free shots on it where I could see what it was too good, but I got the gist of it after watching it, because at first, you know, I'm trying to see how long he wants it, so I kind of left it and faded it up like this, which gave it a kind of eastbound and down kind of look. So I'm just going through here and I'm kind of fading it up into it, which looks just like a big patch on the back of his head, but realistically it's basically what I wanted to make sure, because I can always take it off, I can't put it back on, as I always say. So you know, at this point I'm just kind of like trying to get those hairs in the front there still from going down, and then I'm also trying to figure out, once I leave the tail there, then I'm going to let him take a look at it and tell me what he wants to do with it, so he can make a decision on his own, basically, by looking in the mirror and telling me kind of where he wants me to go with it. So right now it kind of looks like he has a do-rag on his head, but but there is a method to the madness, I promise. So right here, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fade, because he kept mentioning the blend, so I wanted to make sure that I don't just face him in the mirror, you know, full on like this. I think it would have freaked him out. So right here, I'm just starting to fade the sides up here with the 1.5, trying to go into that 2 from the bald skin line. Actually, no, I started at, so I went bald, taper, now on this side, and then I'm going to a half, and then the 1, and then I tried the 1.5. The 2, I basically faded it down from a 4 open to a 1.5. then a slight, the tube made a little bit of a difference to help stretch the fade, just to stretch it longer. But he really wanted more of a compressed fade than a stretch fade. But I mean, the end result turned out pretty good if you ask me. So basically, right here I'm hitting it with the half, and I'm just seeing how much of that it's going to take away. And then I hit it with the taper blade, and the taper blade basically almost gets rid of it. I do come back and hit it with the FX trimmer, just because what you create the line with is what you take the line out with. So, and the end result, to get it completely gone, you do need that, you do need what you create the line with to take the line out completely. So, as you can see, I'm bringing it back to where I want it to be. I'm just fading one side at a time, and then I'm going to take that to the next side, repeat the process, and we're gonna knock that line out. So, and then we just kind of get to the tail part of it. So I keep it connected when I show it to him, as you'll see, and then we kind of like let him decide where he wants to disconnect it at and how low he wants to go with it, and do we want to trim it, what do we want to do with it. So he decides in the long run to take it pretty low, and the tail will just be at the bottom. So I'm going to take all that stuff off eventually, but I do fade both sides before I do that. So we'll let you guys kind of take a look at that. I'll take a look at my notes, and I'll be right back. Stick around.
Blendz.
And as we come up on basically the final clip of the cut here, I'm just going around and making sure that everything looks pretty good. I'm making sure that that tail's lined up correctly. And then I'm going to go around after. The one thing I didn't get a video of was me doing the straight razor. For some reason it didn't record it, but so after I'm done with this, basically almost the last thing that I do is I go around and I hit him with the straight razor, and then kind of go back around the ears and everywhere else, kind of take his final look at everything, make sure everything looks lined up correctly, make sure my stuff's even. Really, just making sure that every angle of it looks pretty good. I let him look in the mirror finally to make sure that he's happy with everything. If he sees any spots that I'm not seeing, because lighting in where I'm at is not the best. There's a lot of lights, but it's not really good light. So, I mean, light is key, and there is large windows in my place, but the light is just different all times of day. So I make sure that if he sees anything that I'm not seeing, and then I go around and I hit him with the with the Braun Series 9, just to give that extra, little bit of transition of the fade. It's just another element of the fade, and that's really just kind of what you want. You want to just transition that fade and make sure that there's different elements to it, so it's a nice fade transition down from dark to light. But then once we hit him with the Braun Series 9, I hit him with the straight razor. Basically, that's about it. So this is going to be the final cut here, boys. Here's the finished result. So my boy Jimmy, give him a little spin around action there. And then we'll show you some different, before and after pictures here. But basically, this is it, boys. And like I said, it's a mid fade. I believe we did a 4 on top, 4 closed, and then we did actually 4 open, I believe, and then we did a tail in the back. So here are the before and afters. I appreciate you guys if you've watched this far. My recording will get better. Like I said, this is just my first couple attempts at it, so bear with me. But the equipment's getting better, the cuts are getting better, quicker, and so stick around. Thanks for sticking around, and we will see you guys next time. But for now, it's Blendz kicking it down with another cut. Peace.
Blendz.